Hello viewers and welcome to the latest episode of the Huddle. Tim Poole here and I'm with Sergey Shulgin, Chief Gaming Content Officer at SoftConstruct. Sergey, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Tim.
Looking forward to what we're going to discuss. A few different topics. Technology, kind of offers, operators. To start off with though, we're talking about Pascal Gaming. Can you walk us through your role and your connection and what you do for Pascal?
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually have like a pitch for the explanation of my role, because basically what I do, we have the SoftConstruct. You pretty much know the name, you will see it all around with our signature magenta color, everything. And we have basically several business lines, several business units. The kind of biggest and the most well-known one would be the BetConstruct, which is the platform we are providing with all the content aggregation, etc. That one you certainly know. And then another thing is we actually do have quite a few in-house content brands, content providers. And what we did quite recently, and that's exactly when I joined the company, is we merged those brands into one business unit. So we now have a new vertical that is now like a standalone operational thing where we have quite a few brands. We have Pascal for RNG, but also we have Creed Rooms for live casino gaming, and we also have P2P poker platform with Stretch Network. So we pretty much put it all together to give the proper full experience across all kind of games the players would like. And I'm the guy in charge of it. That's more or less the story.
Yeah, good story. When it comes to your role, as you say, you're working across the different brands. What are the kind of strengths? I guess strengths of having, different brands and different perhaps approaches, but does there come kind of a challenge with kind of, you're not just working on one thing, so you got to be kind of master of all trades?
Yeah, no, certainly yes. Look, maybe what will help also understand my attitude, why I'm still smiling and doing all that, is my background is actually, you could call me a relatively new person in iGaming. So I came from roughly 10 years with McKinsey. So I kind of born and raised consultant. I've been working predominantly with consumer tech companies, like all around, consumer software, including iGaming, like all different kind of industries. So I think have the benefit of having the kind of outside in perspective. So when I look at our games, to me the first thing I see is still the software. So that's the software, which is a B2B software, B2B2C software, which eventually is something that the consumers, the end players or end customers must enjoy, because this is what creates value. But then within the value chain of this whole magnificent B2B2C setup, we have our operators who are our direct partners, and we need to make them happy. We need to make their business grow, and by actually making the players happy. And if you look at this from this perspective, it kind of makes it much easier to navigate, because from that perspective, I mean, live gaming is software. It's different a little bit, but it is software, exactly the same kind of software as RNG games, be it slot games, crash games, any kind of games, and pretty much the same logic you would apply to any kind. So to me, that's a portfolio of this kind of very particular, very fun, to be honest, with use software. But it goes really nicely together. And also, I mean, we're looking at the players eventually. And like most of the people who play one kind of game, they will at some point try, either stick or not, which is a separate question, will try something else. If you play slot games, you would at some point play some show. Once you play the show, you will want to try blackjack with a live dealer, etc. So it's a journey, right? And I think one of the reasons also why we created this business unit here at SoftConstruct is to stop looking at game provider as a single point or a single product and start looking at it more like a journey for the player to actually enjoy all kind of games and kind of spend time with it.
Yeah,
that will make sense. One, but that's what I have in my mind. Yeah.
No, that's great. The cross kind of industry impact is something we'll talk about later, but it's quite interesting to be speaking to you now because, I've spoken to kind of CEOs or certainly, recruiters in the industry who often talk about the need to get external talent, so even though it sounds a bit weird for me to say you are external talent, person to person, but, that's you're kind of an example of Someone's coming in with ideas from other industries, and that can help broaden the pool of thought within iGaming.
Yeah, I think that was the idea. That was the idea, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about increasing revenue for operators, quantity versus quality. So I understand your approach at Pascal, perhaps yours personally, is just increasing games doesn't necessarily increase revenue. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about that thesis?
Increasing the number of games, you mean?
Yes. I'm thinking what I said now, but increasing, just increasing the total number of games. So games. You know, there's more effective ways.
I think I got the point. I can build on that. So look, I think another thing, right? From my external perspective, I think slot games in particular, live games less so, but also I feel going into that direction. But slot games in particular, I think is the kind of entertainment that you could compare with Netflix. And I think there is a certain cadence in terms of the frequency of releases and the expectation of the releases that customers have. You go on Netflix, you're expecting your TV series season 5 because that's the way it is, right? You're waiting for something new to come, and then you try it, you enjoy it, maybe you come back to it again if you like it. So the same thing with the slot games. So basically, of course, there are games that people just play forever for some unknown reasons, but even they would get reborn with new volatility, a new theme, new characters, something, because that's the way the industry goes. But the way the players are used to it, you are still expecting a release every, couple of weeks. That's what you do. So I think when we speak about the quantity of games, that's a constant. We just need to be releasing games at certain frequency because they're what people like. They will push us on the radar. That's what will make them expect something. Where we are now at Pascal, I think we do have a couple of best-selling games. Something that works. It is now in our portfolio more towards the classic video slot, one of my favorite and players' favorite game, like the Golden Tree. The moment we released the buy bonus Golden Tree, it became like a super hit. People love it, and since then we're nurturing it, releasing the new versions, trying to experiment with this frequency. But that thing works. People loved it for one reason or another. People loved it, and I think our task at Pascal specifically for this year is to test and learn and to try find other golden trees in a way. So we have a very nice lineup of releases that we'll be presenting now with new characters, new visual styles, new mechanics. And I think for us, it's important to now get, a feeling of what of that works, what of that doesn't, so that we get, the themes in terms of quality, something that resonates with people. And then we want to, as usual, make it a series and build on that, build a story around the characters, build the new seasons, etc.
Yeah.
I don't know how much this answers the question.
No, it does. It makes sense. And I'm gleaning from that an emphasis on kind of a skill of subtlety. So not just releasing the same game over and over again, or maybe not even trying something completely new, but as you say, finding what works and then just enhancing it in little ways, marginal gains. I mean, I don't know if I've understood what you said correctly, kind of from what I'm saying.
That's certainly. It's like both things, especially for us in Pascal, we need to do both. We need to develop things that work, that have proven to work, and then we also need to explore. So we have one of our releases is, we call the guy the Fortune Dawn Tiger, and he's a gangster, right? You will see it probably in a couple of weeks it is already live in some testing version, but you'll see it in ICE. It is a pretty simple game, right? But we really invested lots of time and effort into kind of living through the character. So I look at this game, I look at this tiger, and I know the guy. I know that he's sometimes funny, sometimes he gets his Thompson gun and he starts shooting for no reason because this is something that me personally and the team we really have some kind of a relationship with the person. And that's the kind of thing that I think we need to scale, so that both in terms of the character, there is a set of math, how we think it, all the product research, customer research behind that. But eventually this is something very tangible. You know, it's like some asset or mechanics or something that you can relate to and that we really kind of love and like feel and know well. That I think then either works or not, and that's the process. We need to trust it.
Yeah. So in a crowded marketplace, because what we're talking about, obviously there are well, as you mentioned, kind of your point demonstrated it. Every slot company needs to release new slots all the time, and I think there's a lot of slot suppliers within that crowded marketplace. And everything you're describing so far, where do you think Pascal at the moment stands out, and where are you aiming to stand out perhaps more, especially in 2026?
I think we mastered the classics. So the golden tree example that I gave you, I think that's the point where we, in the past couple of years, really invested lots of effort. It was before I joined, so I cannot really take any credit. But I think we're really kind of, in some small detail, we really kind of matched the customer expectation from like a classic game that we built on top. And given that, I think really our next step is to push into the area of the games that are feeling more fresh, that are really bringing this new visual style. And if you play a couple of our new titles, you will see it. More like comic book, graphical, like really kind of warm shapes, warm colors, that has this style in it. But also it should go in a combination with, I can call it innovative mechanics, which will be very generic, but that's pretty much right. So we are spending lots of time and really trying to understand the customer preference, what kind of volatility, what combination of multipliers people like, and we are trying to build our new mechanics based on the research that we do. So that's really a next step from the classic and proven game that we already mastered, I think.
From your perspective, beyond what we're talking about here in terms of games and content and what games you're offering to operators, are there other ways, additional methods you have as providers to increase that revenue line for operators? Is there kind of commercial offers you can put in? What can you do as the provider, apart from obviously everything we're discussing from the gaming content side? If that makes sense as a question.
It does, yes. Look, again, something where I still think as an outsider, and I honestly think it makes sense, so I'm planning to continue like that. So to me, what we have, like slot game, is a consumer tech product. I compare it to Netflix because to me, Netflix is our competitor. You come home,
entertainment,
get on your sofa, you had like a rough day, you want to get distracted, spend an hour or two just watching your TV or play your slot game, etc. And I think from that perspective, if we do compare our product to Netflix, basically the customer metrics, the user metrics that we're trying to optimize for will be the same. And the metrics are basically your frequency of use, your bounce rates once you start the session, whether you continue or not, and then your stickiness into the game, how much time you really want to spend on this game, how much you're enjoying it, and then obviously the cross-pollination, kind of the second order effect of once you played one of our games, how much else you want to spend time playing other games that we offer. And if you look at this kind of funnel with the metrics, that's exactly, once you optimize it, that's exactly what generates value for the operators. And then it's simply kind of the product and commercial questions of how do we improve every step of the funnel, right? Because when I'm saying product and commercial, because that really goes together. And one thing that obviously everybody does, and we also do it, we invest into tournaments, we invest into promotions, we give you free spin or anything you wish. But that is basically one way to influence, in this particular case, your frequency or your session length, and that's it by a proven way. There are at the same time other mechanics that we are still to explore to improve the same metrics by different ways, by gamification of the game. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but it is what it is. Like, what other mechanisms you can build into the usual slot game so that you can address these particular metrics. Yeah? So can you actually make a regular in-game event that will make you interested, like, hey, what's happening? Like, do I scroll my Instagram feed now, or do I check my Fortune Tiger game? Because maybe something came, maybe he's now shooting and I'm missing it. Which is a game feature, which in turns will improve the product metrics of our game, but our game does not exist in isolation. Our game only exists with the operator. And as long as a person, a player, is interested in the game, we automatically create value for the operators. Again, I made a big circle, right? But I'm trying to kind of put it back on track for how we think about product, because for us, this is all about the experience that you are getting as a player. And that doesn't kind of separate whether it's a commercial motivation tool or this is a product feature. They'll come together, and it's basically the same set of product feature that Netflix would be looking at. So
yeah. In terms of what perhaps iGaming, gambling industries can borrow, and maybe examples of what you were mentioning there. What has worked well in other industries? Maybe not Netflix specifically, but that kind of competitors. You say, is there anything you've got your eye on that the industry actually isn't doing enough of, should do more of more effectively?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Actually, it's a very good question. I think one I somewhat already mentioned, and I would break it down a little bit into like the player perspective and also the B2B partnership perspective. Yeah, so I think for the player perspective, to me, it is very much about I want to call it funnel. It's more than that, but that's really the customer metrics optimization broken down the right way. So how we engage the customers, how we activate them, and like how we build the features in the evolutionary manner, in the incremental improvement, which is possible because we do releases every few weeks. We can do incremental changes. So how do we, with those incremental changes, actually address the player engagement across different customer metrics? That's what the consumer tech industry is based on. That's the very, very foundational core thing. And when I look at how games are made in the industry, it is very often, this artistic, a little bit approach, because like something, I think it should work. Let's just do it, which is amazing, and which we should appreciate, but I think it should go together with some like very classic incremental change in product metric thing. That's number one. That's the product perspective and the player perspective.
Yeah, and that's what we were touching on earlier.
Exactly. Another thing that I keep working on is what I started with, right? We are in a B2B2C software business. And the B2B part of that is, I think, very much neglected when I look at how like the ways of doing business in the industry. And that's why we are trying to leverage the experience, I would say, of companies like AWS or Salesforce, cloud services, how you build your relationship with your partner, because the foundation there is we are effectively helping other people make money. And every conversation we're having with our partners, with the operators, to make it interesting for our partner, we need to help them think through how they, with our help, can make their business successful. And it sounds, again, very intuitive and like, yeah, of course, that what you would do, well, like the right words you would say. But I think the difference is in maturity. And I'm being honest with you, also because my background is like very different. If you look at the B2B business outside of iGaming, and if you then look at how the B2B relationship and like the meeting materials, the business cases, like the angles, conversations that are built in iGaming, I think we are roughly 10 to 15 years behind of what AWS would be doing today. Yeah? And I think that's both good and bad. Good is obviously it's an opportunity for everyone in this industry, and it's interesting to build, and I think it's just also good because I think there is this part of the kind of human relationship in the industry that's still very much dominating And I think that's just beautiful, right? All the kind of interaction that we have, all the kind of, you go to any expo, like you know, half of the 20,000 people that you meet, that's it. But there is still much to do. And why it's bad is because it is really creating inefficiencies eventually for players, because while we are trying to kind of make deals and shake hands, because like I know this guy for 10 years and he knows me, or like we're not really delivering the right thing for the player effectively, which I think is something we can improve at least.
Yeah, it's refreshing, and it's really interesting to hear that outside perspective, because I think someone who's been in iGaming for the last 20 years, they won't know any different, so they might not necessarily kind of pick up on the points you're making. When it comes to being 15, 20 years behind, 10, 15 years, roughly you were saying, do you think at this stage we could actually, especially with kind of, as AI is helping us today, try and catch up on this kind of gap to, let's say, the way AWS, as you said, hypothetically might have done it, by also maybe learning from some of the mistakes quicker. So you almost, I don't know if this makes sense at all, but catching up the 10, 15 years, you maybe save 5 or 10 years worth of catching up by doing things the right way earlier. I hope that makes sense as a question.
It does. It does make perfect sense. And like, I would be honest with you, my expectation is that we can close this 10, 15 year gap in like a year or two.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's not because we're unique. It's because it's like, it's a commodity by now. It's clear what to do and how to do that. And I think that is something that will inevitably happen in the next few years because of the maturity of the industry. I think we are at a point in iGaming where, I mean, you look at how many public companies we have. You look at the interest the private equity is taking into the industry. Like now, I think inevitable kind of professionalization of the commercial part will just happen very fast. Another thing that we want to be the front runners here. So we still want to be the first to kind of do it right. But I think if we speak again in a few years and come back to this topic, it will be very obvious that the wind has changed. And basically people are just doing things differently now.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. I'm almost thinking as we're talking here, because we started out talking about game features and how we can make it subtle tweaks, and we've kind of gone on to how the nature of maybe how deals are done and business and the B2B aspect can evolve. So it's been quite a fluid conversation, which is hopefully really good for our viewers as well. But I'm just a lot to be done within the next 1 to 2 years. But as we say, I think the dynamism of the industry and the availability of tech and AI should probably help speed everything up.
Of course, no, 100%. Again, I'm saying like 1 or 2 years, maybe some things will happen faster because you can just put like an AI agent to do some stuff that even I am used to doing with like a team of commercial people. So, yeah.
Yeah. A final question from me, final kind of topic. And as I said, we had quite a philosophical dive into the industry and how we could learn from others. But in terms of maybe slightly more practical from you guys at Pascal Gaming, and actually it doesn't have to be more practical, it could still be along the same lines. But what can we expect from you guys in 2026? Obviously, ICE coming right up, and the next kind of few months. Anything in the pipeline? I know you mentioned a few things already, but anything else we can look forward to?
Yeah. No, look, one big thing to mention is that we underwent a complete refresh of our brand. So basically, we already released it, it's already public, and we have the new personality, like a personality for a game. Now we have the new personality for Pascal as a whole. So we will be very open and like very active in communicating that during ICE and also on our social media. But I think that's the one change, that we refreshed our brand, we refreshed our visuals. I think we spent lots of time also thinking through what we want to communicate, who we are, etc. And the big thing for us in 2026 is to live up to the standard and really match the games we release, the quality, the character, the technical, product excellence in a way that we discussed just now, but also, the fresh mindset and how we build relationship with our partners and pretty much all the things. So I think we just need to really hit the bar where we put it in terms of our refreshed brand personality and make our players happy. I think there is quite a few interesting releases you will see already on ice in both slot games and crash games, but that's the tip of the iceberg. So as we discussed, it's a release every couple of weeks. So the more we go, the more we do.
Yeah. Ultimately, as you say, keeping the players happy is the bottom line. But Sergey, thanks very much for your time. Best of luck with everything in 2026. It's it sounds like a lot in the pipeline, but it sounds like we've got a cool head coming in from another industry. In your case, anyway, on top of things.
Thank you, Tim. It was a great conversation, and really happy. Sorry if it was a little around at some point, and I really appreciate the questions and how I managed to touch quite a few things actually. So thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. No, enjoyed it myself, and hope the viewers, most importantly, did. And to our viewers, thanks for watching. And Sergey, I'm sure we'll catch you again soon.